It's in the news, it's everywhere, but still no one understands it. And I don't even believe the news is getting it correctly. They're just not explaining this whole commission change that's happened in real estate on August 17th of this year, and everything's changed. I want to decrease some of the confusion that exists and give my explanation of what has happened out there. So there was a lawsuit against the NAR, National Association of Realtors, that sellers were unfairly being forced to pay buyer brokers. And so I'm going to talk about old world versus new world. So in the old world, what happened was a listing broker would list a house, and these are, we'll call these commissions, okay? They would list a house for sale and would have a conversation with the seller and say, hey, we're going to list it at, let's call it 6% commission. The agent would say, I'm going to take half and I'm going to give half to the other broker that's going to represent the buyer. And I'm going to use that to motivate brokers to come over here to bring their good buyers. It seemed like a good system. I actually think it's still a good system, but it's all changed now. What is happening new world? The listing broker no longer is really talking about this. This is put on the side. And they're only talking about the half that they're going to charge. And it's not really a half anymore. It's really full. The full commission they're going to charge a seller for their services they provide, their marketing, their exposure, their experience that they're going to give to that seller. And they're going to focus on that. The buyer now has to figure out how to hire a broker separately. So they got to hire a buyer's broker, and that buyer broker then negotiates with the buyer how much they feel their services are worth, what their value is, and they agree upon that ahead of time. But what's happening in reality, in the real market, so far 95, 98% of the offers that are being written by the buyers, they're coming back and saying, seller, will you pay this? I don't want to come up with cash. I'd rather finance it. I don't want to have to come up and pay my broker, so can you pay the broker? And the seller says, well, how good's your offer? Wow, that's a really good offer. I'll cover it. Or they look at it and say, I don't like that offer. I need more money if I'm going to be paying 2 commissions. So let's raise the price. I'll pay it. You don't raise the price, I'm not paying it. So the reality is not much has changed. It's still a negotiation between getting the buyer and the seller to agree upon a price. Commissions haven't changed. It's just worded differently. The buyer asks the seller to pay it instead of the broker asking the seller to pay it. That's the big difference. The listing agent is not saying, seller, pay this. The buyer has to ask for it. Or the buyer can write the check themselves to their representative. Is that confusing? I think it is. So, but hopefully that helps. That is old world versus new world. Old world, listing agent says how much it is. New world, the listing agent just talks about this commission and the buyer talks to their broker about their compensation over there. Here's the real question. What has it done to real estate prices? What has it done to the marketplace? I'm going to give you some simple math because I don't think anything has changed, and I'll tell you why. Let's say old world, a house is $1 million. The seller is going to pay, let's call it 5%, just as a round number. 5% commission, they're going to give 2.5 to the listing broker, pay 2.5 to the buyer's broker. They would net $950,000 after they paid the commissions. Today, the same house is on the market at $1 million. The buyer's broker says to the buyer, you need to pay me 2.5% commission. I want 25 grand to go and do all these services for you, find you a home, negotiate it, get through the inspection process, close the deal, whatever value they're providing their client. I want 25,000. And the buyer says, I like that $1 million house. Let's buy it. All right, well, remember, you got to pay me 25,000. Well, if I'm paying you 25, I'm only paying 975 for the house. I'm not paying $1 million because I got to come up with 25. So what does the seller get? The seller gets 950. They get the exact same amount. Nothing really financially has changed. That's what's happening in the real world. We're only a few weeks in, so we'll see how it shakes out over time. But that's my observation so far.